You know, one of the things that the prosecutor in regard to Sharon Sanders was that he found no bruising on her body. So, you may ask, well, so what? She was brutally raped, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to have bruising on her body. Now, the medical examiner examined the twins 2 weeks after it happened. But one of the major problems is in the initial statements and more pointedly in the preliminary hearing and the trial, Sharon specifically states that after Vincent Simmons had put her in the trunk, she, not wanting him to close the trunk, had put her knees up. And she describes Vincent Simmons literally slamming the trunk on her knees, literally jumping on the trunk to try to get this trunk closed. Think about it. You've got a 14-year-old girl, weighs 90-something pounds. You've got a full-grown man slamming and jumping on a trunk, hitting a 14-year-old girl's knees. Well, aside from the fact that, if somebody, a grown man is slamming a trunk on a young girl's knees, probably going to break some bones. But let's put that aside. Let's just say, it's going to cause severe bruising. Well, 2 weeks after the incident, the alleged rape, there's no bruising at all. Zero. In the least, there would have been severe bruising that would have lasted weeks, if not months. So, there's basically, no way that it could happen. It could have happened the way that she described it. One more factor: Karen Sanders' medical exam report. In the initial statements and the trial, the preliminary examination, she says that he raped her anally. And there's this strange verbiage that she uses that, he's raping her vaginally, and then he, asked her, have you ever been, had sex, anally? And, so he rapes her anally, and she says that it hurts less, rectally than vaginally. So, do it the other way. But the problem in the medical exam report is that there is no reference in the medical exam report to a rectal examination. Why? Because if you think about it, you're going to have probably more physical damage in the rectum than you are to the vagina. Number one, because Karen Sanders had said that she wasn't a virgin. So you basically have a full-grown male, without getting too graphic, full-grown, his junk, to use, the term that we have been using, lately, raping a girl anally. What's more than likely going to happen is that there's going to be some rectal tearing. There's probably going to be some blood, etc. So that, why didn't the medical examiner say, we need to, you need to look at your rectum because, there may be tearing, there may be infection, etc. But there's absolutely no word of that, which indicates to me that there's basically no basis for the anal rape. Now, I'd like to discuss the problem with the timeline, and if we could put, while I'm describing this, if we could put on screen some of the timelines that I've prepared that show the impossibility of the timeline as they describe it, because I guess I forgot to admit before, they leave Keith Laborde's house at 9 p.m. at night. They get home or at the grandparents' house at midnight, depending on what document you look at, what transcript you look at. It's midnight or 10 after midnight. I mean, it's about 12. So you basically have this 3-hour period where everything happened. Of course, the problem is that, Sharon says she was raped for 30 minutes. Karen says that she was raped for, I think actually Sharon says that Karen was raped for 90 minutes, an hour and a half. They're at the 7-Eleven for approximately half an hour. They're in the trunk for, undetermined amount of time. The way that they're describing it, they're in the trunk. Vincent Simmons is driving down all these dirt roads, and there's dust coming in to the trunk, and they can't breathe, etc. They don't say how long exactly they were in the trunk, but I mean, it's obviously that it was longer than 5 minutes, because they're describing having trouble breathing, and they're praying, and I mean they're trying to comfort each other, and they're trying to pull the lights out of the back of the car to get some air, etc. But so you have an hour and a half rape of Karen. You have 30 minutes rape of Sharon. You have, let's say, at least 30 minutes in the trunk. They're in the trunk. You have the amount of time that Vincent Simmons took to puncture the tire. Which puncturing the tire, okay, I'll give you, that could be like a fast thing. Stick the knife in, and it's flat. But the puncturing of a gas tank, which it's basically, if you look at, we'll put a picture on screen of this gas tank, not that specific gas tank, but that specific year. How exactly Vincent Simmons got under the car and pried a hole in the gas tank. But I mean, it would have taken a fair amount of time. In fact, in the trial, the prosecutor, Eddie Knoll, wants to take the jurors out to see this hole in the tank, which they basically, couldn't, by, looking under the car, couldn't see it. They had to have, somebody either raise the car up, or it's not really explaining exactly, what happened, but, how exactly, Vincent Simmons supposedly put a hole in the gas tank is one question. But, we're talking about the timeline now. Let's say, half an hour. So, assuming that, they simply, stopped in Marksville, and, they lived in Marksville, you probably could, fit the 3 hours in. But the problem is, from, the time they dropped off Vincent Simmons, they had to drive 5.5 miles on a flat tire. There is not enough time